Gerry Dulac covers the Steelers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, also Steelers Radio Network host, KDKA. Well, how would you rate the Steelers weekend there, Gerry?
Well, beyond busy, Dan, I would say, they cleaned out their quarterback room. If you would have asked probably anybody, whether in Pittsburgh or across the country, if Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett would all be gone in a matter of 2 weeks, I don't think anybody would have taken that bet. But I think, we'll see if they've upgraded that position. On paper, I definitely think they have. They've acquired a young talent in Justin Fields. I know he won only 10 games in 3 years, but they loved him when he was coming out a couple years ago. And, we'll see what Russell Wilson, what he has left in the tank. But, Dan, he threw 26 touchdowns last year. That's twice as many as Kenny Pickett threw in 2 seasons. So I have to think it's an upgrade. Certainly they think it is, because that's why they made the moves.
And I've said that before, that, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you're like, we don't want Russell Wilson. He had a good year in Denver. I think it was deceptive, but I'm sure Mike Tomlin would sign up for those numbers right now. If you said that's what Russ is going to have, and you're going to get a winning team. So Russ, can he be the difference in 2 victories? Pretty tough division. We all know that. But is Russ guaranteed the starter to start the season?
Let me back up one part of that, Dan. One of the reasons why they feel that Russell Wilson can do the job is because they saw what Mason Rudolph did with that same offense. So much criticism about Matt Canada. Kenny Pickett, was averaging 16.5 points a game in those 11 games that he started. Only 6 touchdowns. Mason Rudolph comes in, and all of a sudden, it looks like an NFL offense. 34 points, 31 points, wins 3 straight games. And I think that, I don't want to say that convinced them, but that certainly showed them that maybe it's not the system, it's the quarterback. And so, they think Russell Wilson can improve on that. And he is going to be the starter. It was told to Justin Fields that he is coming in to be the backup. So there's not going to be any question. There's not going to be any, quote, open competition in training camp. It has been spelled out that way, and that's the way they're going to start.
Not sure if you saw this, but Vegas has Justin Fields for MVP. His odds are twice as good as Russell Wilson's this upcoming season. What do you make of that, Gerry?
I did not say that, but I think that's people who are believing, one, either Justin Fields will supplant Russell Wilson, or 2, they are convinced that Russell Wilson's going to get hurt and Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback.
Well, what's Mike Tomlin's contract situation?
Well, he's going to get an extension this spring. 2 extensions ago, Dan, it was kind of curious. He got 1 year and an option, that has never been the case. Still not sure whose option idea that was, his or theirs. But after that, they gave him a 3-year extension on his most recent one, and they had never given him an extension that long or a contract that long since the first one they gave. So I expect it to be another 2-year extension. I think most of it is up to Mike Tomlin. I have not gotten any indication that he has any idea of walking away anytime soon. But I really don't think it'll be any longer than what it typically has been, 2 years.
Yeah, I wondered if how much longer does he coach? Does he go into broadcasting? Does he want to do broadcasting?
To an extent, I can't imagine that he would. I know the people on your side, Dan, think he would be fantastic, and that's probably true. But I don't know that is something that's on his agenda. Then again, I would have never said that was on Bill Cowher's agenda. and certainly Mike Tomlin's a little bit more glib than Bill Cowher.
Russell Wilson's personality. I've heard people in Pittsburgh say that's not who we are. I don't know if that's important. I don't know if Kenny Pickett, who played at Pitt, we cared about his personality, or Ben's personality, Mason Rudolph. Does Russ's personality raise some red flags, do you think, with Pittsburgh?
Dan, I've heard that stuff. I've read some of it. I checked with some people in Denver who acknowledge that, Russ can be maybe a little different. But Russ is not a guy, apparently, who's going to tell you what he thinks, what he feels. Is he scared? Is he excited? he's guarded in that direction. Well, you know what, Dan? We've been dealing with that with Mike Tomlin for 17 years here. He's the same exact way. And let's face it, Mike Tomlin is viewed as a player coach. And you heard Russell Wilson when he came in, Patrick Queen when he came in. They all nod to Mike Tomlin. That's the reason why they came. And, if you can't get along with Mike Tomlin, then you're probably not going to get along with any coach in the National Football League. So I would imagine whatever, again, I can't speak to his issues in Denver, but I have to think that if he is going to be a model citizen, his best chances are with Mike Tomlin.
How does the quarterbacking situation not work out?
Well, I will say this. Russell Wilson came in on a 1-year deal, veteran minimum, $1.2 million, but both sides want to do a longer deal, and that is the intention after this year. The most surprising thing to me, Dan, that Russell Wilson said the other day was that he wants to play 5 to 7 more years. That really raised my eyebrows. So, and they're not going to pick up Justin Fields' option year. But that doesn't mean they might not do another deal with him. But I think, we're going to see what this year, how it plays out and what it holds. And I think they'll make that decision going forward. Can it blow up in their face? Well, maybe. But I think the odds are probably more on their side that for at least a couple years, this should play out no worse than what they were looking at with the situation they had just a month ago.
How many years you been covering the Steelers?
Too long, Dan, I tell everybody. No, actually on a regular basis, since Bill Cowher's first year, 1992. I go back, on and off here and there. I was actually, as a young kid, at their 4th Super Bowl in the Rose Bowl when they beat the Rams, but on a regular basis where I'm around them and travel with them since 90.
You know what, speaking of the Steelers, we brought this up last week. Could you see Julian Edelman being a modern-day Lynn Swann, that maybe we didn't look at regular season, but we did look at the postseason, and we remember Swanee for some of those, the acrobatic catch against the Cowboys. And Julian Edelman wasn't a great regular season player, but he was an unbelievable postseason player. Could you see him being a Hall of Famer?
Dan, in today, as being a Hall of Fame voter, in today's day and age, everybody gets enamored with stats, with few exceptions, guys whose careers were shortened by injury. It's a reason why, Hines Ward, who has the stats, It's puzzling to me that he's, somewhat puzzling that he's not in. And I understand right now why he isn't. But, Lynn Swann, I think he led the Steelers 1 year in catches, Dan, 28 receptions he had. But it was those highlight reel catches in the Super Bowl that likely put him in, the Hall of Fame. Today, I don't know that would resonate for Julian Edelman's cause, but possibly. But I just think too much of the numbers and other guys who have the gaudy numbers would probably keep him out, would be my guess.
I'll leave you with this. The most important Steeler player of all time is?
Well, that goes to my question where I say, what's the Mount Rushmore of Steelers? And so to me, Joe Green, it was all built around Joe Green when he was drafted in 69, but it all changed with Franco Harris in 72. Terry Bradshaw wins 4 Super Bowls, a Super Bowl MVP. But to me, it's Franco Harris.
I thought things changed when Joe got there.
Without question, that started it. So I say he was a cornerstone. But once Franco came in 72, that's when they went to the playoffs, and that's when it all changed.
Okay, so Mean Joe Green, Mount Rushmore, Franco. Who's the other two?
Well, if you're looking from pure visage and, looks, but also importance, because you got to chisel them in stone, Jack Lambert would probably be one of them. But you could go on and on with the Chief, Art Rooney. You could put Terry Bradshaw in there. You could put Troy Polamalu there.
Chuck Noll.
You could put Chuck Noll. You could put Hines Ward with that smile all the time. But to me, I would say it would be Joe Green, Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw, and the Chief, Art Rooney, the senior.
Great to talk to you, Gerry. Thanks for joining us.
Dan, always good chatting with you.
Gerry Dulac, he covers the Steelers, and he's been doing it for a long time.